Hello and welcome to Call of the Illumineers. I'm Kimber, and we are so excited because we have Lorcana Thanos with us today. So welcome. He is a very prominent member of the Disney Lorcana community, and we're so excited to have you on today. Before we dive in, could you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, how you got into Lorcana, content creation, and what other kinds of things you like to do?
Sure. Yeah. So first off, thanks for having me. For your listeners who don't know, my name is Jason. I got into Lorcana pretty much from jump with the initial announcement, and then content creation came shortly after that. I was on a team called Lorcana Cast way back in the day, and then I ended up leaving that just due to creative differences. And I started my own channel called Quantum Gaming and Collectibles, where because I have a big TCG background, so I want to talk about stuff other than Lorcana. But then that led to burnout, which is a conversation we can have later. And then I came up with this a little bit almost a year ago. So yeah, in terms of my content, I'm a competitive player, but as you notice by my content, I noticed there's not a lot of people who really focus on the social casual element of the game. And honestly, I think that's more fun. There's more you can do with it. And I saw that need because there's so much for competitive players that if you want that information, it's out there. And it's just this big piece of the pie that says there's an audience there, go find it. And so what I do on my content, primarily I do a lot of thematic based deck profiles, news, top 10 lists. I haven't done one of those in a while, but that's kind of just the gist of just an intro on me.
That's
we love
fantastic.
it.
Yeah, we are such lovers of the social, not hyper competitive stuff because that really, I feel like, makes up the heart of what the community feels like and all of that good stuff. What was it originally that made it so that you wanted to start creating content for Lorcana?
Yeah. So I've been a Disney nerd since birth. I'm a former cast member of 8.5 years. Disney runs through my veins, and TCG and Disney, that's the perfect fusion. I've done content creation in the past, talk about movies and doing stuff like that, but that's a very saturated market. Got tired of doing that. Talked about Yu-Gi-Oh for a while. That's a saturated market. Got tired of doing that. And so it's just kind of like, why not? Like I can get in on the ground level talking about it, something that I have a passion for and I love. Why not do it?
Yeah. So speaking of passion that you have, where did you come up with the name Lorcana Thanos? Like we've been curious forever. Like where did he come up with this amazing name? Like, don't get me wrong, like big fan of Marvel and Snap and all that, but where did you come up with? And we're villain girlies, so like we're all for that.
Yeah, trust me, I've noticed listening to the content, so it's nice to be in a safe space for villains.
Yes.
So it's kind of a bit of a multiple layer. So first off, just I love the character like on his own, both in the books and what Josh Brolin did in the MCU. I think he's the best outside of Loki. I can see the argument for Loki, especially with the series. But in terms of like just how, especially when I first read the Infinity Gauntlet story by Jim Starlin, I was really gravitated to him. From there, also on Lorcana Cast, I would quote Thanos a lot, and so they would call me Thanos a little bit. And then from there, I owe all this to Baker, Lorcana villain, and he kind of doesn't know it. I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it, but the story is I was at my prior job listening to Jared and James of Citizens of Lorcana when they had him on, and he was talking about branding. And at that point in time, I hadn't started this channel yet, and it just cause I had that itch to want to come back after what happened, with my burnout situation, and it was right before Ursula's Return came out. And so I was like, I want to come back. And Baker was talking about branding, and I was like, well, I love Lorcana and I love Thanos. Just put it together, and then you get this.
We
And
love it.
Love it.
people do recognize me because I
Yeah.
always wear those two events. So, and you guys know in Vegas, I brought that with me. So
You did.
yeah, I
I
flew
don't think
cross
we ended up
country with
getting
that
a
in my
picture.
bag. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't think we ended up being able to meet up for a picture or anything, but we did see you
no,
there. We saw you
yeah,
with the hat and everything
yeah,
walking around.
yeah,
Vegas was so many people that we saw.
yeah, yeah.
It was fun though. What is the most rewarding or surprising thing that's happened through this specific Lorcana content journey?
Yeah. So I know everyone says it, but we say it because it's true. The outpouring of like help and like love
Yeah.
from this community is amazing. Because as I talked about, I play TCGs and other spaces. It is very much everyone's out for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of times in this city, like anytime I need something, people are willing to help. For example, Lorcana Brand, he's big into puppies. I had random puppy foils from this past set. I said, "Hey, you want these?" And I just sent them to him. And it's just things like that. Like this community helps each other out. So
Absolutely. I
yeah,
know I posted, I think it was right before Nationals, that I wanted to get all the content creators that have revealed cards
uh,
to
yeah,
sign those cards. And I was expecting, oh, I'll bring my collection for you to sign. But then people were just sending me their own cards with the signature. And that's so cool. I
yeah,
mean, not a lot of them were like anything super fancy or expensive, but it's still like part of their collection that they sent to me to have. So yeah, we love the community. I think that's why we've stayed so long as content creators.
yeah.
So, you were mentioned how you enjoy building out like the content for more of the casual player. Is there a
Mhm.
specific video series of yours that you enjoy the most? Like, do you enjoy making the fun decks the most, or do you enjoy doing your top 10 lists? Like, I know I've watched a lot of them, but like,
Okay.
what would be your favorite series that you create?
Personally, because I keep coming back to him, so it's going to be the thematic stuff.
Yeah.
It's because I love the Disney catalog. So any way I can try and make a film work. For example, one I've been trying to make work for a while is Cinderella, and I know like Enchanted Kim is like waiting for that one, but it's like with how the Ravensburger designs cards, it's like, oh, you got stuff in one color, but not enough in this color, and like I have a backlog of stuff I want to do, but the colors don't work just yet. So
You almost have to make like a break the rules and just make a rainbow deck.
yeah, yeah, I've
Um,
had some people who their leagues do that where it's like,
yeah.
oh, we're gonna do like a movie night and it's all colors. Like, what can you do? Then I can really like get behind the wheel and come up with some fun stuff. But I like trying to like
That's our
bring the
next theme
movies to
night.
life as much as possible. So
Yeah, for sure.
What is
It's
your
fr-
favorite theme deck that you've made or put together? Like, which one do you just are like, oh, this is it. This is the best.
yeah. Um, anytime I can do Robin Hood, I always
Yes.
enjoy that.
Oh,
I love Robin Hood. So spoiler for a future question.
No,
Um,
I love Robin Hood.
and then Brooms is one that I've been on since day one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I need more brooms and more. It's I need a mat. So I'm already getting
cool.
the deck box and the sleeves when they come out for Raina Jafar, but I need a mat. So
No, I
No,
love
that
that.
that would be amazing.
yeah,
So I really appreciate your content and like love that you're like I can't even the YouTube snapshot like your
oh
thumbnail. They're always
yeah,
so dramatic and it just I
yeah,
that part of me is like it's so eye catching to me.
yeah.
And so like that always like draws me in because I like I'm like a kid that loves like the shiny things like just be like oh
Okay,
gosh
yeah, yeah,
yeah
Did
no
you say that
That's
you're
why
like
we like
Nutella?
TCGs.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm a sucker for a really good thumbnail, and yours are always like excellent. So that was just a side tangent. I
Yeah.
just wanted to mention.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. No, I really hope that comes across because I do try to put like a lot of time in that because that's our advertisement to say, hey, come watch my video. So I try to think of like things to do that. So
Yeah, that's definitely on our list of like we're making the videos first, and then like we'll eventually get into making a cute thumbnail to make that work for after that. Like, so we'll have to pick your brain after the fact as content creators, be like, what do you use?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Like,
So
keep
hard.
behind the curtain kind of thing.
Yeah.
I thought,
absolutely.
making videos would be so easy, and then we started doing it, and I'm like,
Oh my heavens.
Yeah.
no, editing the podcast takes me a few hours, but then
Right.
editing a video has taken us 8+ hours. So
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
props to you guys for making those videos work,
Really?
'cause that's amazing, and on such a consistent basis.
Yeah, and thankfully, because I have past experience, like I'm able to do it a little bit faster. But yeah, starting out, trust me, it took me a while to get it
A learning
exactly
curve,
how I
yeah.
wanted it. So
It's a learning mountain.
yeah,
Curves are a little
That's-
slopier. Like this is pretty vertical.
yeah.
I know you mainly focus on more of the social play, but when you're going to your locals and you're hearing about what's going on in the meta, how are you feeling with this current meta? And what are you playing
Yeah.
within it?
So obviously over if you guys see anything I say over on the X machine, I've been pretty vocal about this particular format. And I know we have Sapphire Girlies here, so and
All right.
Jared,
She's used to
who's
the hate.
one of my
I
best
am.
friends, is
I accept all
all
hatred.
Sapphire. So my issue with Sapphire is strictly from a design standpoint, and that's the only reason why I get on them about Sapphire. And Brady, I think you said before, like, yes, like we've always had this situation, and like I understand your point. Obviously, like, yes, we went from like Bucky to Diablo to Sisu and all this stuff, but my concern is if they don't balance the game going forward, because we're already in a tier 0 meta, which is what I was afraid of. If you look at like all these third-party events, like that's what I was afraid of. And I'm just hoping that Ravensburger kind of steers the ship back in where another ink or two, especially Amber, who needs some love, like gets that boost. In terms of what I'm playing right now, I'm a steel main primarily, so I've been having a lot of fun with playing Mufasa. So right now I'm playing Steel Fasa.
Ooh, I love.
Yeah, so
That's
I run
like a
a lot of
combination of Stephanie and I.
Yeah, so I run a lot of anti-meta cards. I run a lot of like Benjas, a lot of Pete. Even I've even got a few of the 5-cost beasts, so then I can shift him in for Tragic Hero to keep drawing, because Mufasa doesn't draw a whole lot. I got like Bagheera. I run a lot of Gantus, the new Gantu, to kind of have a floodgate effect. Trying to find ways, and then of course you do your aggro stuff with the Amber stuff.
Yeah, no, man after my own heart.
Yeah, I was playing Ruby Fossa and started playing with Blurple a little bit last, but I don't think that can. I haven't found a list for that color combo I like yet for this format.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that because like I play a pretty consistent Ruby Fossa deck, but it doesn't feel good right now.
No.
So I haven't I haven't felt like it's found its way back into this set. Like I don't know what the card choices are to make it work with the. It's actually the steel part of everything that is, I think, making things a little like all of the decks that are in the top right now have like an overabundance of steel minus the ruby sapphire, but like we have sapphire steel, we have amethyst steel, we have amber steel.
Take steel's name out of your mouth.
But
it's
it is
Sapphire's problem.
I don't believe it is. And so I do think that there are some balance issues in this game, and I do agree with you. But if you look at like all the overabundance of the top decks, especially from this past weekend of like 5Ks and like larger tournaments, like there was some across the country and like internationally, and all of them in the top decks were like amber steel, sapphire steel, amethyst steel, and then yes, a few ruby sapphires as well, but like over like if you look at percentage wise of the color that was the ink color that was the most dominant, steel is the one across the board that was the most dominant in the higher ranked decks.
Such a
So, like,
hater.
She knows where you live, and she's gonna.
Such a
I
hater.
was not saying that it was a hater. I was not being a hater. I was just talking the numbers, and the numbers don't lie.
Steph's gonna be like, you can't even keep from inside the club because you can't get in. Like,
talk to me when
feel-
I like am able to sweep away a set champs. Then you can talk to me with steel.
I feel like Sapphire is just like, it feels a little bit broken. Like as a Sapphire girly, like I've been blue red like almost my whole Lorcana life, and I am feeling the hate, and I feel like it's a bit justified. Like Coil Sisu is dumb.
Yeah,
Double
a little,
Sisu,
Just a little bit.
broken.
A little bit.
And 100% just like being able to ramp and then play so many different things for free.
Mhm.
Rebecca Quest was just making a video of just being like, oh, Scrooge, let's play items for free and also let's dig. Wait, no, we can play him for free and dig for free.
Mhm.
And then we can also like Tomato, 6-drop Tamatoa can play the item for free while also digging and getting them back. It's just like so much.
You're almost punished for banishing those items to their discard.
100%.
Yeah.
And you need there
like,
needs to be something where there needs to be a card out there besides just Hideaway, which is a Sapphire card
And Cusco.
that puts something in their inkwell. So I don't disagree. I think there are, like Brittany has mentioned, there are decks that have come up to try to fight it as much as they possibly can. People are finding answers, but I am hoping with Reign of Jafar we do see like Amber get a little bit more love, Emerald get a little bit more love. I don't think the control colors need any more love. Like,
No.
I do recognize that steel is powerful. I also think ruby is very powerful.
Mhm.
But Amber and Emerald specifically have kind of fallen off the wayside unless they are with ruby or unless they are with steel or sapphire. So
Yep.
that's where I'm at. But I am.
That's her story, and she's sticking to it.
It's fine, guys.
So
if you were able to make a new mechanic or ability in the game of Lorcana, what do you think it would be?
All right. So what I want, I guess the word I'll use is duo. What I want a tag team type thing where but the art already is kind of go in there with like was it the 7-cost Tramp that has Tramp and Lady on it. So I want cards that have like both their names on it. So you can maybe get like dual effects for like a Chippendale for like the Rescue Rangers, or like Hero and Baymax, or you can go like Flynn and Rapunzel, or whatever like that. I want some kind of like buddies, because I know like Pokemon has like tag team cards, so I want some kind of like buddy system, because there's a lot of like Disney duos, whether you go sidekicks or prince and princesses or whatever. I think that would be interesting.
What if they like have the buddy system thing like get introduced with Pixar and Nemo and all of that? Like,
it could, yeah.
Do you have your exit buddy?
Buddy.
Right, yeah.
No, I
love
like that.
That'd be fun.
Well, because like they have like the sing together, so
Yeah.
like it would be really fun to have something mechanic that is like with like a buddy. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And like it could be also just like not universal shift, but like more like it could be either or. Could be this friend, kind of like King Candy and the other guy, Turbo. There we go. I know my
yeah.
Turbo-tastic. I know all the things.
Brittany is a knower.
What advice would you give to new players trying to like improve their game, other than like trying out a thematic deck to like dip their toes in? Like, what would you give them as advice?
Sure. It's gonna sound weird to say, but be comfortable losing.
Mm-hmm.
And then ask questions about like, why you lost, and like ask players, learn and play with players who are better than you, because then they can teach you more advanced concepts of Lorcana and where your misplays are and how to get better. They can teach you how to mulligan properly. They, when to ink this, when to time a peat, for example. Those kind of things.
I love that.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I'm always like trying to improve how I'm helping coach new players and like what to tell them. And like after, like during the game is one thing, but like after the game I think is more valuable, because then they've seen like the entirety of the game from start to finish and seen what could have they done better to improve. And I just feel like being constructive rather than and taking the advice is probably difficult for some people, especially like it's not always fun to lose, right? And so like especially if you're losing like it's something you're brand new at, like it's one of those things you have to be good at. Like I lose Lorcana all the time, so I've gotten really good at losing, right? So you have to be good at losing before you can be good at winning. So
exactly. Yep.
I think you're absolutely right. That is such a big skill of like losing with not only grace but also like reflecting upon it. Because if you look at deck, like those like meta analysis where they're just like this deck type versus this deck type, like the most winning decks are not over here at like 95%. Like we're like, oh, they're at 58. That means they're losing 42% of the time.
Right. Yeah.
Like that is substantial. So I think like it's so easy to be like, you'll see someone like on a Rogue League night where it's like they won all the games, but like that's not normal. No. And just kind of like sitting with that and being like, we're okay. We can lower the stakes a little bit.
Well, I also feel like winning at League has like a different feeling because it is not always as many like hyper competitive players versus winning at tournaments, which has those statistics like built into it. So it is one of those things where you're like, yeah, I'm winning consistently at League night, but who am I playing all the time? And am I playing the same people week over week over week with the same decks week over week over week? So I know exactly what to do against those decks. So I know that like locally, like everybody knows that I play a Ruby Fossa deck. And so they know like how to move around that. And that's part of why I last set champs, I didn't play that because I was just like, I need to bring something that you don't know exactly what my next step is going to be.
If Brittany plays Gaston, it has to be on site. Like you don't let that guy even swing once. Because it's bad news.
Yeah.
Play the left sit for free practically. Oh.
Any of the ladies in chairs. Ugh.
Really? I felt like a lady in a chair when my cat was over here, just like, I'm going to sit in your lap while you're talking to people. I'm like, yes, Katsu. Yes. I felt like my
thank you for not banishing any of us. I appreciate you.
I mean, you all have too much strength, but like, you're doing good.
So I know we've talked before the stream a little bit that you were at DLC. That's kind of where we met you and everything. Yep. What are your thoughts on the tournament so far? What are your thoughts on like what needs to be improved besides obviously the elephant in the room, which is when is Worlds and when is that happening?
So I was fortunate enough to go to the very first one here in the States in DLC Atlanta. I got in one of those 500 slots in 30 seconds. From where we started in Atlanta to the last event I went to this past season was Vegas. I was supposed to go to Seattle, but life happened. But that was a night and day difference. From how
that's what I've heard.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were down in a sub basement for Atlanta versus what Vegas ended up being. But they seem to have ironed out a lot of the problems that Atlanta had with registration, especially side events, getting signed up for that and getting those fired. Getting that was all well. In terms of the event itself, I'm still, because I have such like a best of 3 with sideboarding history, or even from Bandai games that I play, being best of 1 pre-side, the 2 game format is still something I don't personally love. I understand why they're trying it, but it just, as a TCG player, it throws me off a little bit.
No, I'm with you. I want to either know if I lose or win. I don't want to draw. So
yeah, drawing
frustrating.
is so bad. I drew most of the day in Atlanta because I, didn't really have a feel for the 2-game format, and then Vegas just wasn't my day. So it happens. The thing I want them to do outside of communication, which is my big problem because we don't have Worlds dates. I mean, honestly, I'm getting a little frustrated that we don't even have a DLC schedule for this next month, June, and it's already April at the time of recording. Like, that's the communication is something I do think they need to improve on, being a little bit more transparent with us, because we do have to pay money to travel to these events. A lot of us obviously work. That's I can't just leave and be like, oh, hey boss, I'm going to be gone, bye. Like, that's not how this works. In terms of the thing itself, the thing I want them to change, maybe Haba an issue, I want them to stop allowing IDs. I will say it. I will say it. It feels bad, like in Vegas, like by round 5, at least 6, the top tables I drew the last 3 rounds of the tournament because they knew they were in.
Yeah.
So it's such a feels bad to everyone under, where if you force them to play, they may have a chance to get in. And if they, this game's supposed to be about playing and, everyone being a part of it. Well, if you're not playing for 3 rounds, then what's the incentive?
No, absolutely. We talked about it like at length on our podcast this last week, was IDs and where's their place. And we understand, I guess, that what Ravensburger is trying to do, which is if they know about it and they've made it part of the competition rules, then maybe it won't happen shadily. But I do think there needs to be a little bit more ironed out there if we're going to continue doing them. So I'm not opposed to getting rid of them either, but
and of course, also we need an official judge program. I'm on that. I'm on that hill
all
too.
day, every day.
I'm on that hill too. Like, and we need to compensate the judges too. I will, however, they need to handle that, so we can support the judge program with all the cheating that goes on, which is another thing I haven't talked about for obvious reasons. But like that's what I didn't want this game to turn into.
Yeah,
and it's already happened repeatedly. So they need to find a way to stop all that. So
yeah, we have to get some traction because it's a real slippery slope.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
we're starting to see them in the smaller local tournaments.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
we're not competing for the Mickeys for this, and they're still cheating. So it's just like, what's gonna, like, and my concern is like the integrity of Worlds might get violated by cheating.
And I almost wonder if that's why we don't have DLC or World States, is because they're trying, they're like, whoa, slow down.
Yeah.
Because we need to get this under control before we keep going, because I
would love to see a judge program before Worlds.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's needed. So
these
3 have these 2 have kind of looked at me like I'm crazy. I keep saying that I don't think we'll get Worlds this year. I think it will be January of next year.
At this point, I don't look at you crazy. I don't think you're wrong.
It's just
I thought you were crazy when you said that in January.
In January, I agree.
Right. Now it's April,
more
and
I'm like,
okay. Well, I'm just like, who all is going to be at Worlds is also the question, right? Like, where?
Yeah, are they opening it up?
Like, because I know the Japanese circuit starts this week and things like that. So, are they going to wait until those players are there too, or like, because they are also competitive DLCs, right?
Yes, get me a Japanese golden Mickey. I'm ready.
I mean, it honestly, like, when that theory first got floated out, I thought that was crazy too, but it kind of seems like that's what they're doing to like have that perfect number for the brackets for Worlds, and then it's a true world tournament. So
I know it's frustrating to have to wait, but it's kind of cool to see these locals kind of pick it up. And I know here we're doing a bunch of things outside of set champs with tournaments, and we're seeing it all across the United States. So I'm not too upset I would rather wait and have things done correctly and right rather than it feel rushed and then this be I just don't want it to detriment the game so much that it's now there's no way of coming back from it. And I think that's where we were headed if Worlds had happened, this March or whenever that random rumor was. So
Right.
I'm glad it's we're holding off a little bit. I do think on that same token we need more communication from Ravensburger. Let us know, hey, I know it's coming. It's gonna be, even if they say like Q1 2026 or Q4 2025, I don't care. Just let us know.
Yeah.
So we can kind of start planning accordingly. So
Or just letting us know like what is going on a little bit behind the scenes.
sure,
Like,
yeah.
just so we're not just over here guessing at the, like, maybe.
It's just that we're still working on it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like giving
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
an update to the not necessarily giving us a timeline because they might not even have their fully expected timeline. But just keep on talking to us. Like we haven't heard
Like,
anything
we
from them
didn't forget you,
in a
babes.
very
A
long
month.
time.
Yeah.
So we'd like just a little bit more just on a regular basis, even if it's just a small bit. Anything is better than nothing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So so you mentioned Robin Hood earlier. So I'm assuming that's one of your favorite Disney properties, but what if it's a different who would you hope that would get a character card next or an additional type of card? Like what's your thoughts on like future cards?
Sure. So the one I want, on my channel before I think Skies came out, I started doing prediction videos for who I want to see come in, and I'm always going to say him. It's this guy right up here. I want Mr. Toad so bad.
Oh yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
I love Mr. Toad. I want him so bad. Every time I've seen Ryan, I have asked him since Atlanta, and I bring it up all the time. So, and
Great.
he gives me in a very Ryan way. I know somebody, so I keep asking, and I'm going to keep asking him until he comes out. But
That's
Mr.
a perfect
Toad is what I want. So
That's great. You ask him about Mr. Toad, and I'll keep asking for a Goofy movie.
I
drive
don't
him
understand
insane.
why we have that one, because I bring up Powerline and a Goofy
Yes.
movie all the time in my prediction videos too. It's like that's kind of a no-brainer. Like,
yeah,
My
Like-
silly clown hat. I'm like, the 30th anniversary is coming up in April.
yes,
Maybe.
right, yeah.
That's
So I'm
my
hoping maybe with Fable we'll get more like classic, just because of how that poster looks. I'm hoping for
Yeah.
more like a classic storybook type thing, because I've been asking for Dumbo too.
Dumbo would be great.
So that kind of fits in like a fantasy land, like storybook aesthetic.
I
type
love
thing.
that.
So,
Oh,
yeah, I'm
that's
not
like
trying to
Mr.
go
Toad
for like
now
the
too,
main.
so
I want to
theme.
see an elephant fly for sure. Like, come
Exactly.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. We can leave part of the movie out if they want, but
Yeah,
at least,
think that
I mean,
would
I
be-
think
have
that's it's a necessity to
Yeah.
leave parts of that out.
at least Dumbo and Timothy, right? But
yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
have an
And his
action.
feather-
Whoops, that
his feather
wasn't
can be an
water.
item.
All your
Aw.
shout the
But no,
character.
if they're doing Pocahontas, we should be able to get Dumbo.
Right. Yeah.
So
Oh, I want Miko.
yeah,
Oh,
I love that.
That's fantastic.
Where do you see Lorcana heading in the next couple years?
Obviously,
what are your hopes and dreams?
yeah, I know it's not gonna get on like the Pokemon Worlds level. That's not, but ideally I would like it to get to that kind of thing, because with Disney being the IP house that it is, like I would love for like eventually by year 4 or 5, if we have like a massive like Worlds event where there's like a ton to do for competitors, and there's like side events, like maybe side events isn't proper, because we will have side events, but like something at like downtown Disney, if it's in Anaheim again, or at Disney Springs, that's like Lorcana related, like stuff on property to do, kind of like Pokemon Worlds has, like when in Hawaii they had stuff like throughout. So like really incorporate that corporate synergy is what I want. Obviously I want other and this is always a hot button issue that I've gotten into arguments about. Obviously, if they're doing Pixar, I want Marvel. I see the argument for not Star Wars, and I'm fine with Marvel because obviously it started through ink in the comic books, so you could do it that way and not bring in live action with the MCU. You just do Marvel, comics proper, and that's ink that way. Star Wars, obviously I like Star Wars, but I don't know how the licensing works for that because Fantasy Flight has Star Wars Unlimited, so I don't know if Ravensburger can use it or not, even though I don't know how all that works. My big hope, and I know it's probably never going to happen, and that Enchanted Donald is probably the closest we're ever going to get.
Kingdom Hearts.
Yes, I am a massive Kingdom Hearts fan. My dogs are named Sora and Riku.
I love it.
So I know Nomura's probably never going to sign off on it, and Square's probably never going to sign off on it. But
I don't know.
But if it did happen, I would play a Kingdom Hearts deck all day, every day.
I feel like we're closer to that than we are like Marvel, just because I know even in the Disney parks they dress up in their outfits for Halloween, Mickey and Donald and the whole crew. So I don't know. I could see it happening. It'd be so fun.
I really hope.
I know my husband's he's grew up playing Kingdom Hearts, so he would be very excited.
I would love for Lilo to sing a song and just like wreck Thanos. Like the amount of joy that would bring me.
Sad beach girl sings a song.
Like
about
sad beach girl sings like I'm trying to think of like a Guardians of the Galaxy song.
Like this feeling. Love that. Love it. Okay, so are there any exciting projects or collaborations that you're working on that like you would like to share?
Yeah, so due to life, haven't been able to work on it, but at the start of the year because I took this idea from Jared, Citizens of Lorcana, where he did like on X, he posts his yearly like goals that he wants to do. So 2 series that I announced at the beginning of the year that I'm working on is a interview series called Beyond the Ink, where I want to talk to not just content creators, but other players like Zach Bivens and Zan, and hopefully get approved through the Disney process to get to talk to like Ryan and Steve and Shane and Rochelle and all them and like talk about Lorcana, but also kind of go beyond that, hence the name, and kind of talk to them about like life and like things about them as people to get them to get to know them outside of the game. And then something else that I want to do for fun, because a lot of feedback that I get is people want to see more gameplay. It's just at the time I didn't have a way to really do that. So what I want to do is take I'm going to call it cinematic lore down, and we're going to have basically theme decks playing against each other in gameplay instead of competitive.
I love
gameplay
that.
Is the concept. So just have to have time just due to life to actually sit down and do it, but that's the
truth,
the idea.
We definitely understand that, like taking on a new video series on top of the podcast and on top of other like local things like we did casting and things like that. But definitely it adds up, and as you add more content things, it makes it definitely feel like, oh, my whole life is Lorcana.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want it any other way.
But it's not a bad thing. It's just definitely not what you expected a year ago, right? A year ago, like, because we're also coming up on a year of content creation for Lorcana, and so we're definitely feeling that. Oh, wow, things have really changed in the last year for us.
Yeah. They sure have, in good ways.
Yes.
Good ways. I will preface that.
Okay, so how do you keep your content fresh? So we were just talking about how you want to add an additional series. So what do you do to keep it fresh and engaging? Because Lorcana is constantly evolving, but content takes time to make. And like, what do you do to like stay on top of it?
The biggest thing is, I mean, obviously I don't always chase like what like the biggest like trend is like in our space, but I kind of like look at it and see like maybe what can I add to it, what's my spin to it, or like the two series you talked about, like what's a way that like so like pretty sure you guys have been on like when I came up with the interview idea, like Chris Lorcana chats, like he's a good friend of mine now too. Like I think he's excellent at the interviews that he does. But I wanted to go like, well, what's a way I could expand on that and not have the same like interview style as him, for example. So it's just trying to find a way to like differentiate yourself from like the other vast amount of content creators that we have, which is sometimes kind of hard, but yeah.
That's totally fair.
For sure. If you could give one piece of advice to anyone looking to start their content journey, whether with Lorcana or anything else, what would you tell them?
So obvious ones that everybody brings up. Don't worry about numbers. Start, because things aren't going to be perfect. Just start doing it and you'll learn and grow. For me, as I said at the very beginning, it's always finding your niche is going to be the most important thing. Like find the thing that you're good at. As I said, like Chris Lorcana Chats does interviews. I love Disney art, but I'm not an artist myself. So Chappie talks about Disney art. Brando does karaoke. Like there's different artists, creators do different things. If you want creative stuff, you've got teams like Podcana, and Zan does his stuff, and like you just kind of find like what interests you and like how you can bring your voice like into this space, because there's room for more people. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just start.
Yeah, just start.
Just do it.
Well, before we wrap things up, we do like to do our rapid fire questions.
All right.
So you have your favorite ink color, your favorite Disney movie, your favorite Disney character. Go.
Okay. All right. So favorite ink is Steel.
Yep.
Favorite character is Robin Hood, and so with card that you can't see him because of the glare, but it's Champion of Sherwood.
Yeah.
Love it.
The Enchanted until I get Mr. Toad. Yeah. And then what was the last one?
Favorite movie.
Yeah. So for me personally, again, it's kind of a tie between Robin Hood and Aladdin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love me some Aladdin.
Yeah, Aladdin's got a great soundtrack, so I love Aladdin.
It does, yeah.
Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us. For all of our listeners, where can they find you?
Sure. So on YouTube, X, Blue Sky, and Instagram, just type in Lorcana Thanos and I come right up. So
perfect. For all of our listeners, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky at the Lorcana Muses, or on X at the Lorcana Muses Pod, or find our podcast anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts every Thursday. Happy questing!
Happy questing!